Temperamentally, some people are just passive. I am temperamentally passive. I don't like to confront people. I'm not confrontational. I don't like to get into fights. Unless you really, really push me, then I will go for your jugular. So temperamentally, I'm that. The other aspect of being passive is I value a good amount of who and what I am, and a good amount of my value really depends on how you see me. I don't have a perspective about myself in the absence of you. Without you, I am zero. With you, I'm worth $10. So whenever you push me around, you bully me, and even though I know it may be wrong, I become very passive to it because I just value what you have to say and how you perceive me. The other aspect of it has to do with the fact that inadequacy, let's just say. Let's say you've read a couple of lines about Plato, and I've read the entire dialogues of Plato. So you've read one page and I've read 3,000 pages. You've thought about Plato for a day, I've thought about Plato for about 30 years. Okay. Now you raise your hand and you say, well, Plato said love A, B, C, D. And then I ramble on for about 3 hours about what Plato actually said about love. Well, you have no choice but to feel inadequate. You haven't read much, you don't have much experience, you haven't really thought and reflected about this. It's good that you actually feel inadequate, and it's good that this particular inadequacy creates this sense of humility about you. It's good. When you feel inadequate in some ways, it means that you're confronted by something that is better than you are, bigger than you are, stronger than you are. I'm not going to go into a ring with Mike Tyson. I'll go into a ring with a 5-year-old who's like a mouse. I can beat them up, I feel powerful, but not that guy. So in some ways, feeling inadequate is very insightful on your part. You know your space, you know the environment, you know what's in front of you, and something instinctual tells you this is how you should behave. Be passive, bow, shut your mouth. The other aspect is, why would you want to talk about Plato? You're 18, you haven't really read much or thought much, you've taken a philosophy class, and there are like 50 people sitting in this room. It's good that you feel inadequate because you're not going to get embarrassed. They're not going to laugh at you. You feel inadequate about something, and then you're passive about it. That's a different story. If I say you're going to get a C in this class, you kind of feel inadequate. But there are ways you can improve your grade. But that takes active engagement. You can be passive to the desires of being slothful, lazy, complacent. But you have to be active in engagement. It's very much like therapy. You become passive to the voices inside your head and active to the voice of your therapist. I worked with a guy for about 10 years. I consider him now to be my teacher. He died 3 years ago due to cancer. For 10 years, every time I went to his house, I felt inadequate. Every single day. And we used to sit, and he used to talk for about 6-7 hours, each gathering. It was only much later when I started teaching, when I became a bit more comfortable in teaching, then I began to stand up to him when I felt that what he was saying was wrong or inadequate or incomplete. But that took about 20 years. But that feeling of inadequacy and then humility and knowing that this guy has things that I will never have in my life, it allowed me to be quiet, to listen, to take notes, to hopefully get some tools and then apply them later on in life. You know, the feeling of inadequacy is kind of like an alarm clock. It says, you just don't know. You're incompetent. Now you have a choice, now that you become aware. You know, it's like an alcoholic who says, I'm only a social drinker. Fine. Then ultimately he comes to realize he is in fact an alcoholic. Well, okay, well, this is the awareness. You've realized this. You can either be passive to the wisdom that has given to you by your own intellect, your own body, your wife, your husband, whatever, okay? Or you can become active. Passive in the sense that I don't really care. I'm going to continue to drink. Active in the sense that now I see it's ruining my body, it's ruining my life. I'm going to go to AA. It also depends who's making you feel inadequate. Let's say you like music, and God forbid, let's say you gravitate towards Snoop Dogg's form of art, if you can call it that. And every time you try to mimic him, you feel inadequate. Well, that's a shitty way of feeling inadequate. You want to feel inadequate? Listen to Mozart. Let people who have some talent, some value, make you feel inadequate. You may be interested in One of the plays that was written by Jean-Paul Sartre, he was one of the fathers or founders of existentialism, even though I think it's been around for a long, long time, and it's called No Exit. No Exit is about three people being locked up in a room. And you can take this metaphorically. And what all these people have in common is that they have certain needs. They don't have what they want, or they don't have what they need. And that is what makes them feel so inadequate. And they desperately need the other people in the room to tell them what they want to hear. Like, you feel ugly. And that's generally how you felt your entire life. But there is no one else in this room except me. Well, you have a couple of options. You can either behave in a way that they'll continue to tell you, you're ugly. Or you come to me and say, Amir, do you have any needs? You say, yeah, I need money. I say, okay, but why don't I give you like 10 bucks and in return you tell me how beautiful I am? I say, okay. And what Sartre wants to argue is that if you feel adequate or inadequate because of the judgments, perceptions of other people, people are always going to lie to you. First, because people in general are incompetent, their judgments are incomplete and biased, and why the hell would you want to depend on them? Now, I think Sartre should have gone a step further. Find the Socrates, find the Jesus Christ, find the Malcolm X, they'll really make you and your life feel cheap. That's a good cheapness to feel. I don't know if you have a brother or a sister, and I don't know if they're like talented in, say, school, writing essays, or maybe your brother plays the violin or the piano, let's just say, and your mom always tells you, see, why can't you be like him? And envy grows, jealousy grows, anger grows, hatred grows. Maybe once in a while, like Sigmund Freud, you pray that you could summon the will and cut his jugular, so your mom can never force you to compare yourself to your brother. But eventually what you say is, my brother makes me feel cheap and incompetent and irrelevant and all that stuff. Maybe I should take up violin, and you do. And that competition is really good, it's healthy.